Hi guys, it's me again. So I wanted to give you the second half of the story of how I fell in love with a narcissist. So I'm gonna try to do this DoDash style where I don't have to edit this video. So I'm gonna try my hardest not to ramble, because one of the reasons that I do edit is because I tend to ramble a lot. All right, so we're gonna keep it together. I don't have any notes. I'm just gonna talk. So I'm gonna kind of condense this so that this is not a very long video. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that this narcissist and I, we were together for probably about 3 years. I'm not sure which, probably the last year was when he got sick with COVID, and he was in another state at the time. And I remember that night because I was on FaceTime with him and he could hardly breathe and I couldn't get him to go to the hospital. Anyway, eventually he calls me back and he tells me to call 911 for him. Well, I'm in a totally different state. And when I call 911, they're like, well, if you're not in that state, you can't call us. You have to call emergency police in the state that he is. And I'm like, but I don't know that number. All I know is 911. So what I did was I researched the hospital, the closest hospital to where he was. And then I called them, and then they gave me an emergent number to the police station. And then I was able to call them, and then they were able to do everything. So I called and they took him, right? Once they took him, I lost touch. I didn't know where he was, but I figured it would be the closest hospital to where he was staying. So I dropped everything, guys. I dropped work, I dropped family, I dropped everything, and I went where he was. So when I got there, maybe, God, I think it was 2 days later. And he was still in the emergency room, and he was still in the same clothes that they picked him up in that night. And oh God, it broke my heart. I called the emergency room at the time, and there was a male nurse on staff. God bless that man. And I was just crying, and he was like, he was trying to comfort me, and he was telling me just calm down and tell him what I wanted. And I was telling him that, listen. So they brought my husband, giving myself titles now, into the ER 2 days ago. He's still in there. He's on CPAP, BiPAP machine, whatever. He's still in the same clothes with his boots on. He hasn't had a shower, and all this. And he was able to FaceTime me, guys, and show me the machine on his face. So he was conscious, but he didn't have access to his mouth to speak, right? And so he kept pointing to the thing and saying he wants to get it off. And I kept saying, you can't, because, you're not able to breathe. So anyway, I was talking to the nurse and I said, when are they going to take that machine off of his face? And he said, we can't take it off because we've tried twice already and his oxygen plummeted and we had to put it back on. So I said, well, can you guys please try? And this time he'll probably do better. So as soon as I hang up from the staff nurse, I called him and I said, hey, they're going to come in, a nurse and a doctor, and they're going to take that machine off your face, but you're going to have to breathe like you've never breathed before. Even if your chest hurts, your lungs hurt, breathe very deeply. Otherwise, they're going to put you back on it, which is what they told me. So, oh my God. Guys, I'm going to have to edit this. Should I edit this or should I leave it like this? Because the thing just fell. You know what? I'm going to leave it just like this. I'm not editing. I am not editing. I promised myself I wouldn't edit, and I'm not editing. Okay. So I'm telling him this, and as I'm telling him this, the nurse and the doctor walks into the room, and they're like, oh, we spoke to your wife, and she said, that you wanted to come off this, but you do understand that if your oxygen level drops below a certain amount, we cannot let you off. So we're going to try this, and we're going to put you on a high flow, And if you're able to maintain the oxygen, then we will leave you on a high flow and take this off. So he did it, right? So they left him on the high flow oxygen, and then he was able to talk and stuff. And he's telling me, oh, you got to get me out of here. These people are doing this to me, that to me. I'm like, you have to get better. You have to give it some time and get better. So I said, okay, what do you want? Because he was still in the ER at this point. This was 2 or 3 days later. I'm like, what do you want? And he told me he wanted coconut water, he wanted Gatorade, he wanted some different things. And so I went shopping and I brought it to the ER, and they would bring it in, right? And then I would leave, and then I would, go back to the hotel and call him, and we would talk and stuff like that. And, just kind of kept him company. And maybe a day or two later, they moved him from the emergency room to the COVID floor. Now he's on the COVID floor. I can't bring him anything, right? So I'm like, what is the point of me being here, where he is? I mean, I can FaceTime him from where I live, and he's not ready for discharge yet. So I was able to talk to his doctor, and Dr. Reddy, I think I will never forget the name, Dr. Reddy. And I said, whenever he's ready to be discharged, then, you guys call me and I'll be on the next flight up. And so I think, I don't know, almost a week and some pass. I came back to work, and then they called and they said that he was ready. So I flew right back up and brought him back down. And so he came down, I took care of him, I bathed him, I cooked for him, I set up his oxygen, make sure that, everything was good. And I just took really good care of him. Anyway, after a while, I said, it might be a good idea to go home and, back where he's from, which is Jamaica, and breathe some fresh air, and it might do you good, as soon as you're able to wean off of the oxygen. One of the other things is that, when you have COVID, they put you on prednisone, and prednisone increases your blood sugar. And so by the time he left the hospital, they were like, oh, he's diabetic, which I don't think that he truly was. I just think that this was just a result of the prednisone. But either way, he came home diabetic, and they put him on medication. He had to take his blood sugar. The man was as big as a cow. I mean, I'm not talking about, fat or anything like that. I'm just saying he's a big grown man, and he was afraid of needles, okay? Because even while he was in the hospital, he called me and told me, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me every minute. They're in here sticking me with these needles. And, he would get anxious, and it would raise his blood pressure and drop his oxygen because of the anxiety. And I had called Dr. Reddy and said, hey, is there any way to cut down on the amount of sticks that they give him, right? Because at the time when he was in the hospital, they were giving him insulin, he wasn't on PO meds for the sugar. So Dr. Reddy said, okay, we'll take one of them away. And I told him that, the anxiety that's caused by the needle is what's causing the oxygen to drop, and what's causing he doesn't have blood pressure problems and things like that. Anyway, we're home now. So he decided he was going to go back to Jamaica and, kind of rest up for a while once he got weaned off of the oxygen. So that happened. Before he left, he bought some cameras for his house, and he put the app on my phone, and although it wasn't set up yet. So he goes to Jamaica, we keep in touch, and, he's doing good. He lost a lot of weight, but, he's doing good and stuff. And we talk, and one day I called him. He's in the attic in his house in Jamaica, and I said, what are you doing in the attic? And he said, he said, I was hooking up the wires for the cameras. And he goes, they show so clear and blah, 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 blah. I'm glad I bought them and so on. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Farthest thing from my mind. I finished conversation with him and kind of moved on from there. Well, one day, the whole conversation came back to me about the cameras. And the reason it did, guys, is because I felt a pang in my mid-belly. Now, this is not the first time that I felt that. I've felt it before. And as women, I know that I'm not the only one. When something is wrong in your life, whether it's with your partner or your children, You feel it in your spirit. I always believe that that's the Holy Spirit. And so this was not the first time, but it kept going, and it didn't go away. And I kept saying, something is not right. Something is just not right. So I decided to take some time and watch this camera. So I heard, I'm watching it, and on it, I couldn't see anybody, but I heard, shh, 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 shh. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like somebody's sweeping the patio. I'm like, he's up this early sweeping? When the person comes into the view, it's a woman. And her whole dress is wide open at the top, and her boobs are popping out. And I'm looking like, what the? And I'm shocked now. She goes on the patio and she pulls the shades aside and she looks down where I could see him, and she's talking to him about something. And then next thing I see, she comes downstairs and she has a bag, like an overnight bag, guys. And then she gets in the car. They talk for a little bit. Then she gets in the car. He gets in the car. He takes her wherever she's going. I did not move the camera because I wanted to see how long it would take him to get back to the house. Maybe 3 minutes, and he was back to the house. So I said, all right, let me go start looking. So I'm looking at the cameras, and I'm looking at old footage now. And I'm seeing different women coming in and out of the house. So I pretended to not know anything. And I decided that I was going to get all the information that I needed before I made a final decision. So I went on Amazon, guys, and I got some recorders, and I put them in my house here. And I put one in the living room, one in the bedroom, and one in the garage. And I said, I'm going to gather all the information I need to make an informed decision. And I did. So when he returned, he didn't know that the cameras were running. But guys, that's when I caught everything. I counted probably about 7 or 8 different women that he was speaking to. I think a couple of them were in the United States, but the rest of them were pretty much all in Jamaica. And some of the conversations were very intimate, and obviously a lot going on. So I would listen to them, and I would make recordings. And one day I'm listening to this one recording I'll share with you guys. And this is a new supply. So he obviously, somebody either introduced him to this young lady or whatever, and he's talking to her, and her son and him happen to have the same last name. So, you know, they're kind of just shooting the breeze and kind of talking, kind of getting to know you, first time conversation and whatnot. And he tells her that he's in love with her. Guys, I'm so happy I can laugh about this. And he said, yeah, he can't eat because, you know, he's in love with her. So anyway, that evening when he came to the house, we're talking and whatnot, and I'm like, did you eat today? And he goes, no, I wasn't hungry. I said, you must be in love. I repeated exactly what he said to the girl. I said, you must be in love. Only people that are in love can eat. And he looked at me like really strange, you know? So, guys, he knew. So I'm listening to one of the recordings one day, and I'm hearing in the garage, and I'm hearing beep, 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 beep. He had his friend give him one of those machines that I can't remember the name of the machine, guys, not to save my life. One of those machines that you use to detect recordings or hidden cameras or whatever. And he is over the entire garage searching for this thing, and it was right in his face. I did not hide it that well. It was right, but He didn't know what he was looking for. So, he didn't know. So, anyway, I ended up, of course, breaking it off with him. And guys, I went completely no contact. I mean, I blocked WhatsApp, I blocked phone, I blocked everything, because it was important to me to not be weak, so that if he comes back, that I didn't go back to him. So I set those boundaries. And guys, so important about boundaries, because if I had any to begin with, I would not have gone through what I did. I did not have any boundaries as a big, grown 43-year-old woman. Whatever I was going through at the time, I felt like I needed this guy in this moment at that time. And I neglected myself. I neglected all of the red flags that presented themselves to me. And I just sat in this wallow and wasted 3 years of my life. Yes, I can sit here and say, he did that. He wasted my time. But guess what? I was implicit in it because I allowed him to waste my time. All the flags that I saw, I ignored. All of them, I ignored. And so as women, we have to have boundaries. You're not too lonely. You can be alone, but if you have the joy of the Lord, you are not lonely. These men are not going to give you the peace that you're looking for. They're not. They're going to bring cheating, chaos, diseases, unwanted things that you wouldn't even possibly dream about. So make sure, learn from me, okay? Learn from me. At 43, having to deal with that? No. These for me are trauma responses. And sometimes when you're younger and you go through the type of trauma that I did, and you haven't had therapy for it, these are the things that you repeat when you're an adult. These are the things that you allow when you're an adult. You know, as an adult, no, we shouldn't be going through these things. We should have learned from our experiences. We should know that, hey, this man wants to come back to my house after having dinner with me the first night. Red flag. It's been 2.5 years and I haven't met your mom. Red flag. Red flag. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes I call you in the evenings and I can't get you. Red flag. And then you're, oh, I've been busy all day and you don't have a 9 to 5. Red flag. I mean, just so many things, okay? Let's have high standards about us. We don't care what they say. We don't care what they say about our standards being too high and with this and with that and with that. Let us be by ourselves. We'll be peaceful by ourselves, okay? But set boundaries. You don't have to be my age. You don't have to, you can be younger, and the younger you learn it, the better. The younger you learn it, the better, because you'll avoid the pitfalls that I did in my 40s, and you'll be able to walk a more smoother way, okay? They're not worth it. I'm sorry, they are not worth it, because guess what? You're gonna put years into a relationship, and he's not gonna marry you. And then he's gonna meet a young lady. 6 months later, he's gonna marry her, because why? She required it. She set boundaries. She didn't allow him to play, and he can't play because she set her boundaries. She made these requirements and she had it. Don't sit around in any relationship with a man that long and not get anything out of it, okay? And in the meantime, while you're not getting anything out of it, you're being cheated on. You're being made to feel like you're crazy, because anything that happens into the relationship with a narcissist, he blames you. And no matter if it's not your fault, it's always your fault. Because even as I took care of him, he still said, you did nothing for me. You did nothing for me. Do you know what I mean? So I had to go cold turkey, cut it off. And with a narcissist, they are never done. They're never done with you. They just recycle you. You know, they come back to see just how stupid you still are. And did you learn? And can they get away with it again? No, when they come back, no. You've learned your lesson. You've grown. And now you're in a different place. You're at peace with yourself. And you're at peace with God. Most importantly. And the rest of it, we will discuss in another video, because I'm already 20 minutes in. I'm sure I rambled, but guys, I promise I'm not editing this. If you like this content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, like, share. I'm a brand new YouTuber. I'm not exactly very comfortable in front of the camera, but I appreciate you watching and giving me ears. All right, thank you guys, and have a blessed day.